Fitz of Writing.
Good evening, everybody. This is Sean with Fitz of Writing. I'm sitting here tonight with a man who needs no introduction.
And so I get none. Okay.
I'm just messing with you. This is my good friend Ryan. He does use the pen name R.M. Johnson when he is writing poetry.
Yes, yeah. And then I'm working on releasing my alternative pen name for novels. Just when I start releasing stuff again,
Okay, what is it?
I will reveal that when I start releasing stuff.
Okay, he is the proud author of a short story that is on Amazon. We'll get to that here shortly. Uh, Ryan is an old friend of mine. We went to high school together. We've reconnected after losing touch with each other for a good long while uh, during what COVID time is generally basically when we started
Yes,
talking.
the days of sickness. That's what they called them back then. We got together during COVID. Um, I think that was when I was really kind of getting back into really starting my writer's journey was during that period of time. And then I happened to look online and I saw that my old friend had pushed out a book, Bleeding the Divine. You should go check it out on Amazon.
We're not here for me.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Uh,
Don't. No.
yeah. No. And then I just reached out and I was like, hey, I didn't realize you were into writing, and we just kind of connected and started talking back and forth. I had you look at some of the stuff I was doing. You said you liked it. I didn't believe you, but we kept talking anyway. And then eventually we started talking about this podcast you were doing, and bringing it back.
Yeah, I think we're skipping a whole lot of time in there.
Well, I was just trying to, summarize.
No, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, it's been a long process, and convincing you to get involved with this was also a lengthy process.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I absolutely hate everything about this, except for the talking to people part. I just hate recording it. I hate putting my face and my voice out there. It bothers me to no end, and it gives Sean no small amount of joy to watch me squirm while doing this. So yeah, I did when I first started talking to Sean back in the COVID days. Um, I was working on a epic fantasy trilogy that I kind of re-scrapped from years before that I originally wrote, and I felt like was weak as hell, so I threw it away and started rewriting it. And I've since thrown that away and started rewriting it again. So that's still in the work in progress stage. I do hope to one day get that traditionally published. I feel like it's a strong enough story to do that. But in the meantime, I've also started creating a novella, kind of like modern day noir detective with a supernatural bent to it, some flavor in there. And now I'm in the process of turning that from a novella, trying to lengthen it up to a full length novel that I want to create into a series because I like the character and the world that I've built so much. And of course, I published a short story on Amazon. I think it's $1.99 right now. Um, it's a quick read, but I think it's a strong, powerful character study of a particular person with some very diluted ideas about himself or the world around him. And it's called In Pursuit of Death. And check that out.
I've read at least a little bit of all three of the stories that you mentioned, and I can say that each and every one of them is both very unique and very well written. You clearly do like to take your time and make sure that you've written your stories exactly the way you want it to be told. And I still don't know exactly how they're going to get better, but you are an accomplished author as far as I am concerned in the aspects of the craft and how much attention that you pay to it. Um, I did want to ask you, I did want to ask you how old you were when you started writing. Just let's say, just as far back as you can remember your first story.
Well, I mean, I've done what we've all done, like the homework of the world when you're in school and stuff. They ask you to do stuff, but
No,
I don't think I really.
the first story that you wrote because you wanted to.
Oh, that would be of Hath and Harrow. That would be 100%. That would be of Hath and Harrow. I sat down and I said, I'm gonna write a story, and
And
I
you
started
were
it. I'm trying to think back. I want to say I was 20, 21, somewhere around there. Yeah, in my 20s, early
okay.
20s. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and commit to before 21.
Okay, so you,
Um, and it was absolute garbage. It
but
was.
but in the I don't know 17, 18 years since you've started writing, ballpark, you've taken. I know that you've spoken to me a lot about educating yourself and what measures you've taken to make sure that while you are very interested in telling a story, you want to make sure that you're telling it correctly as well. So tell everybody a little bit about what you've done to get yourself uh, proficient in the craft of writing.
Well, yeah, I would say I've done what everybody does, which is do the first. You're going through, combing through internet videos and little blog posts about like 5 best tips for newbie authors and things of that nature, and that's not helpful to anybody. And so the thing that I latched onto the most that I feel like was really providing the answers I wanted was these lectures from Brandon Sanderson. Um, if you haven't seen him, go check him out. He's got a bunch of videos. I think they're like 2, 3 hours each. There's a lot of information in there, not just about writing and the techniques that you might want to consider, but he also talks about book publishing and all that stuff. And it really is a good way to jumpstart what you're trying to do. And so I would listen to that stuff constantly. I mean, I would just put in my earbuds, whatever I was doing, and I would re-listen to them over and over and over. And then the more important aspect is I would take what I learned from those and then try to see it reflected in my own work. To give you a precise example, when talking about said bookisms, Brandon Sanderson really breaks it down almost kind of like a formula where instead of using said or anything of that nature, like a he tittered, they laughed, or whatever. Instead of doing that, you can let your dialogue breathe by having about 4 or 5 beats of the two people just going back and forth, because the reader will understand if it's structured properly. The reader will know who's talking, and you don't have to constantly keep slipping in there. He said, she said, whatever. He laughed. You don't have to keep doing that. And when you don't do that, it allows the reader to infer things, and then they start kind of creating their own story about what's happening, and that's good if your dialogue is strong. But even then you can extend it further, and you don't even have, like, you can start putting in what's called a story beat, where it's like Tom got up from the coffee table, quote, said some things, end quote. And because Tom got up, you instantly infer that he's the one speaking, so you don't, like, you're not having to constantly say he said, she said, all that stuff. And it really does enhance your dialogue sections. And so I try to do stuff like that. That's just one example. It's one of my favorite ones.
So you are not a big fan of the old rhyme that whoever said is dead should be dead instead of said.
I mean, I stick to said, and ooh, excuse me, I stick to said, and I don't use a lot of other said bookisms, unless I feel like it's. I also feel like the less you use them, the more impactful they are when you do use them.
I
But
agree with
unless
that.
you're really trying to, yeah, unless you're really trying to get a particular emotional sense across, like if you don't have to say shouted. If you throw down an exclamation point, most people understand that they're talking at a loud volume.
And then
You
it
also don't
means
have to do
more
both.
if
Yeah,
you are saying that they shouted or bellowed or something. I can agree with what you're saying, and I have looked at those videos, those lectures that Brandon Sanderson's given. I rarely have 2 hours to sit and listen to the whole thing, but I get into them as deeply as I can. I do think that it is much more focused information given in a very linear fashion that is easy to follow, and it does go a lot deeper than the surface level.
yep.
You started writing. Did you start watching those videos shortly after, like while you were going through it, or did you have your first version of Hath and Harrow done before you had started educating yourself?
I believe I made it about. So I already had the whole thing written from way before, and I trashed that, and I would probably about halfway through my third chapter when I started listening to Sanderson's lectures, and from that, I scrapped what I was doing, and I took a different stance from it completely, because again, what I found myself doing was just kind of rewriting what I had before, but like better, and that's fine. But with Hath and Harrow, you know this, it has a very cinematic bard type of feel to it, and that's what I wanted to capture. And so I was really trying to emulate. I was trying to input like a movie into the reader's mind, and so it's very flowery, and that's the angle I decided to go with. And Sanderson's lectures helped me kind of understand some techniques I could use to achieve that, and so that's what I started doing.
And it is very easy if you're going for that flowery prose to lose the reader.
Yeah,
But
because you're not speaking in context or in concrete terms. You
right,
know, that's what helps concrete readers into what you're saying. And when the more abstract your word choice, the harder it is for them to understand what it is you're saying and visualize what it is you're depicting. And so yeah, it's a balance. And recently the rewrite that I'm doing now isn't because I thought what I had before was bad. I've just over contemplation and some beta readers looking at my prologue, they just pointed out some extreme weak points with it, and so I decided I was going to rewrite it. And then when I did, I was just like, I feel like this kind of changes the direction of the opening, and so I was like, well, I'll just rewrite everything.
well, I'm looking forward to seeing how it changed. Um, I would say that your the way you write it is forces you to read it slowly, but you definitely still want to read it, and that is, I think, a very elegant trick that you have pulled. So I would say that the three stories that you've mentioned that I've read and everything are all at least fantasy to some degree, but they're different kinds of fantasy, um, or they're fantasy with a different twist to it. So, is there a particular favorite of yours, or a favorite kind of story that you want to tell?
Uh, are you asking me my favorite genre?
Well, I know that you don't necessarily like to spend, or I'm sorry, I know that you don't necessarily get to spend a whole lot of time reading. But I feel like if you could, you would probably want to read the stories that you most like to write, or vice versa.
Yeah, I would say as far as like the things I like to write, I do I definitely write fiction. I'm not really a fan of nonfiction as far as writing is concerned. I definitely have a place for it in my heart. As you can see, I got a whole book set up there of just informational encyclopedias called Crime and Punishment, where it's revolved around like capital crimes and killers and things like that throughout history. But I don't like to write that kind of stuff. I definitely lean more towards fantasy as far as like what I like to write, but I'm really open to a lot of different genre types. I generally like to include some form of magic or magical thinking. So just to correct you a little bit, the um, the Knight Rider series, in pursuit of death, was a short story that didn't actually involve magic or fantasy elements. It just it kind of skirted that borderline of is this actually happening or is it all in the man's head? So you don't, and I don't really clarify that by the end. So you don't really know if these are actual events or just the signs of psychosis or something. But for the most part, yeah, I love fantasy. I love magic.
I think that's fair to say. Fantasy and magic definitely, I would say, is the realm where I live too. I do appreciate a little bit of horror, um,
But
but
yeah, I also like poetry and stuff. I'm a huge poet.
this is true.
Okay. So you were leading us into the podcast.
Actually, yes. If you can be quiet long enough for me to say a thing or two.
I'll endeavor.
Yeah. So did Boromir. So, In Pursuit of Death had a character that I would say is what gave me the idea that it was fantastic in nature. And having such a character, and I'm sorry to just be bouncing around, I don't want to give away anything in your book, but just having a character like that, I think definitely adds to the mysticism of a story and what makes it outside of the realm. And that is a good point. It is not ever really nailed down in your short story whether or not that particular character was real. Um, this would probably be a good time to bring on who's also been on the entire interview with us, who is such a
Lurking,
character. He doesn't lurk.
watching from
If
the
anything,
I don't
he
know.
peacocks.
Yeah, that he does.
We are, of course,
Yeah,
talking about
Sir Doctor Duncan Crackleworth,
yes,
Esquire. Yep, right there. That guy,
Doc.
our benefactor of the show.
Yep, definitely more than a mascot. You've already probably seen a couple of his interesting factoids come across the bottom of the screen. Tell everybody a little bit about how we sort of dreamed him up and see if your recollection matches with mine.
Well, I believe there was alcohol involved. Uh, I think the genesis of Sir Doctor Duncan was. Are we talking fact here?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe we were just trying to find something to kind of bring the show to life, and we just cycled through a few different options, and we came upon this guy that we just both kind of connected with instantly, and we saw him, and as soon as we looked into his beady little eyes, we were like, "There's a personality here." And we both kind of just started riffing back and forth about all the exploits that Sir Dr. Duncan Cackleworth, Esquire, founder and CMO of the Departed Pen, affiliate senior partner of Feather, Dip, and Wells LLC, had gotten himself into throughout the years.
His exploits will surprise you.
They will.
He was a big part of, I think, what kind of really brought life into us talking about the channel and everything and what we wanted to do with it. Because I know that I expressed to you that I wanted to get back to it after I took a long hiatus to deal with a few things. And when all I really knew was that when I brought it back, I wanted to change a few things about it. There were a few things that I knew I didn't want to bring back, and there were a few things that I knew I wanted to achieve, but having another skull or two to bang against as far as getting ideas to fall out and whatnot was extraordinarily helpful. And Ryan, you've as well as a couple people that you know have really contributed a lot to putting things together infrastructure wise. If you'd like to talk about the overlay and how we were helped out by that stretch, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, initially, I think you and I sat down in my living room and we kind of sketched out what we were looking for. I then created a more in-depth version of it, and then I took it to someone I know, and we had it polished up. And we've got some new overlays coming for other things still yet to be announced. But I think the overlay looks great. It definitely, I feel like it's going to help enhance the show. I think just kind of like sitting around and talking with you at the genesis of this, it really got me excited because I mean, when you first did the show, you were telling me how like you were just kind of focused on fictional or fantasy writers, and I felt like there's a much greater resource out there as far as if we're just focusing on narrative storytelling or storytelling in general. There's a lot of different people we could talk to, and your concept of like, I just want to create a space where I can help promote people that aren't promoting themselves or are having trouble to promote themselves and help them get a platform, get out there, and then we can have a conversation with them, got me excited. Because I think we both kind of struggled with promoting our own stuff when we were going that route.
Well, it's hard.
And so it is, it's a lot of work and you don't know where to start.
It costs
And
money
so I
to
encourage people to
hopefully
start with
make
us.
money.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm glad of the product we have right now.
And I think that infrastructure wise, the channel's a lot stronger after being able to bounce ideas off of each other and broadening our horizons with which kinds of authors that we will work with and talk to and allow to get on that platform to try to just kind of give their work a shout out for anybody who, might be book shopping at the moment. You, possible
It's
author watching this channel, we want you. Yeah, we are closed at the moment. As far as like taking new ones, but there will be another season coming after we get through with the current round of right around 20 guests. I don't necessarily want to say 20 authors. We do have a couple of special guests coming in who do different parts of the storytelling field that we're pretty excited about. And those are going to start all rolling out here in the next couple of weeks. But
Yeah, even though we're closed, we are still open to receiving submissions. They're very likely not going to fall into our current schedule because I think we've got that buttoned up. But you might get a slot early for season 2, or depending on what it is, we might just kind of insert you in between because we feel like you have something interesting to talk about.
Which is a good place to mention that, while we were also putting everything together, we discussed that we really like talking about writing as well. So we do have some other I would call them segments for the channel to be doing that we're going to start exploring, and some of them are going to be trial runs to see if they're popular, if people want to watch them. Others are probably going to stick around, but that's part of what you had mentioned earlier about those extra overlays coming in, where we will be trying to also get guests to have conversations with us about certain aspects of writing, because not in too many places across YouTube and anywhere else do you find very in-depth talks from folks that have done the work and been through some of the struggles of being an author, will do deep dives and share their own ideas and experiences about writing and marketing
Yeah.
and publishing. And we wanted
The
to be
honest,
able,
the honest truth about it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, tell everybody where they can find uh, updates on your own personal writing, and then we can kind of talk about the channel itself.
I mean, I have an Instagram and Facebook page dedicated to the RM Johnson name. I believe it is, I think it's RMJ dot author at Facebook, and I think it's RMJ underscore author on Instagram. But that's pretty much where I'll be releasing all that stuff. Hopefully, I'll also start tagging that on Fitz of Writing, so you guys be able to get those announcements there as well.
Oh, we'll definitely be sharing any updates for either of us with anything that we do uh, on that page. But if you're looking to just follow the channel, uh, for any big major updates, any new releases, if you want to follow that, if you're very active on Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/fitsofwriting. Do you want to talk a little bit about the weekly things that you're trying to get fired up on the Facebook page
Yeah,
itself?
yeah, 100%. So I've started moving some these things that I started doing when I started my um, writing path, my writing journey on my channel over to Fits of Writing as a way to kind of bring them back to life. Sean and I are going to start doing new ones. They're called Telletales. It's a simple writing prompt. I encourage everybody to participate. I hope you do. But the idea is very simple. I find a picture online, some image. Generally, it's fantasy, but I look for other things, sci-fi stuff like that. I look at it, I see a story, I write that story, whether it's narrative prose, whether it's an actual kind of story concept, dialogue between two characters, poetry, whatever I see when I look at it, I create that. And then I encourage you to do the same, to look at the image, tell me what story you see, and put it in the comments. I think it's a great writing exercise. I think it helps promote creative perception, being able to essentially draw inspiration from very minor things. And it's helped me immensely in my writing, and I think it will help other people. And so, yeah, we're excited to get those going.
Yeah, it's a fun exercise. I'm looking forward to getting involved with that. Those are going to be released weekly every Tuesday, yes?
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I'll release one Tuesday. Well, we will release one Tuesday morning in its standard form, and you'll be able to read the thing I created. And then I've started adding some audio to it. I found some, shame on me, some AI to read what I wrote, and I think that's just nice for like the videos and the clips. Some people just prefer to hear it, and so I'll do that without the story because you're listening to it, and that'll get posted later in the afternoon. Later that afternoon, the same day.
I will throw out there that if you come across this video and you are a voice actor and you would like to throw your hat into any telltales that you see on our Facebook site, send us a clip of you reading it and throw your hat in the ring and see if we can't make something like that happen for you. We're definitely interested in helping narrators get their name out there as well.
It'll make my life million times easier because finding that AI voice that you're looking for it's a difficult process.
You heard it here first. Do be keeping an eye out right at the beginning of the weekend. That's when we're going to start releasing our battle cards, basically, for information on the next week's author or interviewee, if they are not an author but just a part of the industry. You'll be able to see their face, what they've done, what they do within the industry, and then we will be releasing these videos on Wednesday evenings, weekly until the end of the season. Ryan, do you think we need to do anything else?
I mean, we could fade to black.
Wait! Don't forget, everybody, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Facebook. What were your handles again, Ryan?
It's rmj.author at Facebook, and it's rmj_author at Instagram.
Perfect. And to follow the channel on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Fitz Of Writing. That's where a lot of engagement is going to be, and a lot of announcements in regards to the channel are going to be focused around. But please do follow us here, subscribe to the channel on YouTube to help the network grow for us, our authors.
Yeah, and the more awareness we have, the more awareness we can provide for you.
Yes. We want the bigger that the platform gets, the more helpful we can get to all the authors out there who are trying to get their name out there, their books and stories seen, screenplays even. Any medium by which to tell a story. So I thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing how this whole first season pans out.
Can I say it now?
Can you say what? If you have to.
Fade to black.
Good night, everybody.